Oh, hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan. Let's adjust myself a bit there. And welcome to the Game Week 26 strategy stream. So guys, I can only apologise for being a couple minutes late there. I didn't really know what time the game would finish and how long it would take me to organise getting the stream set up and stuff. But yeah, as I make this stream/video, literally 5-10 minutes ago, Bruno Fernandes has scored in the 97th minute and absolutely saved my game week. I don't know if you guys have seen the Man United game. It was actually a pretty tragic performance for the first half of the game. Then Brighton got a red card. Lewis Dunk got sent off. And after that, it was all Manchester United. So many chances being created. Ronaldo scores a screamer. Bruno misses a real sitter. Ronaldo misses another couple of chances as well. He could have had a couple of goals in that game, maybe even more. And then right at the last minute, Man United get a free kick. Play it quickly on the counter-attack. All the Brighton players are way far up the pitch. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And Bruno takes it all the way, could have squared it. He goes all the way and scores right at the last minute. Now, that is the Bruno Fernandes luck that he has. That is just the Bruno luck factor. It just happens. It just happens. Whenever you own Bruno, this is what he does. This is what he does. He scores these house goals, and this is just it. So Bruno Fernandes, he's very much saved my game week. He's spared me from a red arrow, I think, to be fair, in a game week where a few things did indeed go wrong. And in the end, 72 points overall. Bruno gets 3 bonus points as well, just for that last action. I say just for that last action. We do have to say that Bruno Fernandes, he's a bonus points magnet just because the amount of passes he makes, the amount of chances he creates during a game. He is a bonus points magnet, so he only needs a goal, or we've spoken about this before, he only needs 1 goal or 1 assist and he suddenly lands on 3 bonus points. But yeah, I'm very relieved indeed about that one. So yeah, congratulations fellow Bruno owners and captainers, Ronaldo owners and captainers. You probably feel pretty pleased with the result as well. Even the Gea captainers and owners, you're probably pleased as well. So overall, the big Manchester United players just about pulled through. It took a while. We were very worried, and so we should be, but they just about pulled through. So there we go, guys. Yeah, that is that. Game week is done, finally, and now we can look forward to the big game week ahead. So yeah, hopefully, guys, you're all done okay. Hopefully, you're pretty pleased with the results of your game week 25. I hope you're all happy as well. And Milan in the chat says, Bruno got me from rank 25k to 19k. So that's a very nice little treat at the end of that game, I suppose. Patrick got 85 points there. Very nice. Mike Poopy, 74 points. Very nice. Top 15k now. Very nice indeed. So yeah, well done, guys. Well done, guys, indeed. It seems like a lot of people are pretty pleased with their results, and so you should be. But a difficult game week, to be fair. I did actually get a small red arrow. There, 72 points was just not enough to get me a green arrow. I only went down about 10 places, I think, or something, maybe even less than that. But yeah, I tell you what, at these ranks, you need incredible scores every single game week just to keep up. It is quite wild. But anyway, we're gonna talk about the following game weeks, the future game weeks, game week 26 onwards. That's what we're here for. These are strategy streams after all. We're meant to be looking forward, although it was very difficult to contain my excitement at the beginning of the stream there. We're gonna kind of have a look at some things going forward. So in this stream, we're going to talk about double game week players. We're going to talk about double game week tactics. We're going to talk about the tactics, the strategies, the chip strategies we might use going forward a little bit. And a few people have asked me for a free hit draft as well, so I might include that in this video as well. Just do a very rough, off-the-cuff free hit draft. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on players I quite like for this double game week anyway, as you guys may have seen from my video from yesterday. So yeah, we're gonna do that in this video, this stream as well. So lots to talk about, lots to look forward to. Very exciting indeed. But let's start off, first of all, by having a look at how I'm set up for next game week and kind of what I'm thinking. And you guys will have noticed, perhaps, that I am in a bit of a benching headache dilemma, and I'm really not too sure who to bench. I mean, the one player I know I'm going to bench is Ollie Watkins, and I know I'm going to play all of my double game week players. It doesn't matter who they are. I'm going to play all of my double game week players. Bruno Fernandes, despite his heroics at the last minute there, it's not going to be enough to save him from the chopping block. I do think Bruno Fernandes is still very much a sell, particularly if you've got Salah. You need to get Salah into your team. Bruno to Salah, I spoke about that in the buy, sell, keep, avoid video that I made earlier today. Bruno to Salah is one of the most straightforward transfers you will ever make in FPL. So just do it and captain Salah as well. I'm going to activate the triple captainship on here as well. But that's not my only option. It's not my only option. But let's just put it there just for the sake of the stream, because this is kind of what it looks like. So this is kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. The only difference would maybe be Bruno Fernandes. Well, will be Bruno Fernandes will most likely go to Son. That is most likely what my transfer is going to be. So just to make you aware of what I'm likely to do there. If not, there are some other options. I mean, maybe I could think about getting Weghorst in for Watkins, maybe, but I don't think so. Jimenez in for Watkins, maybe? Yeah, possibly. We'll see. But it's going to be a case of I need to decide who I need to bench. Now, I kind of feel like I want to play Broja. I feel like out of the players that I have that have got single game weeks, which will be Bowen, Broja, Cancelo, Digne, and Watkins, who Watkins is just going to stay on the bench. So I guess Bowen, Broja, Cancelo, and Digne. Broja seems like the player in the best form right now, and I kind of like the look of this home game against Everton. I know Everton managed to keep a clean sheet last game week, but the game week before that, they didn't look too hot, did they? So I'm kind of expecting Broja could have a really good go at this game. We could potentially think about playing Cancelo or Digne over Bowen. I'm not exactly sure. My gut actually says to play Digne, because that Watford at home game is a really nice opportunity for a clean sheet. A really nice opportunity for a clean sheet. And with all of the fixtures and the games that Man City are having to play at the moment, they may have to prioritise other games aside from the Spurs game. So I don't know, is Cancelo going to be potentially rotated there? Possibly. I actually kind of prefer Digne to Cancelo, and I know that's controversial, and I know Cancelo can do the business when you're not expecting it. But I don't know, my gut tells me Digne. So if I was to go absolute gut, knowing that Newcastle's form is improving, I would actually maybe do something like this and go something like that. I'm not sure yet. I still haven't fully decided, but I'll do something like that. Now, a few people would be suggesting in the chat, I guarantee, yeah, well, there you go. I'm looking in the chat now, yeah. People are saying, what about bench boost? Are we considering bench boost here? I think bench boost is something you could consider, but it's not really something I'm considering. I have toyed with the idea of going for a bench boost. It's not something I want to do. And the reason for that is because I'm feeling that game week 36 could be such an enormous double game week. An absolutely enormous double game week. I would not be surprised if 16 or 18 teams have a double game week in game week 35. And if that's the case, and I've still got a nice strong squad, which is what I intend to have, and I can get to a place where all of my players are going to have double game weeks, every single one, all 15, and I don't think, thinking about it now, I don't think it's going to be too difficult to get 15 players on a double game week. That to me is more appealing than going for a bench boost this week. That to me is something I'd like to go for a little bit more. Do that bench boost later on in the season where I can have 15 potential double game week players. And if I can't get to 15, what's the worst case scenario here? Well, the worst case scenario is, I get to 10 or 11 double game week players, which is more than I have right now. I could probably do 10 or 11 double game week players in game week 36, sorry. I'd probably do that without making a single transfer to try and do it. That will probably happen organically, particularly if I make sure that I'm using my free hit in game week 30. Because let me get out my Twitter actually, because I've got an image here somewhere that shows this quite well. Somewhere on my Twitter feed somewhere, to try and kind of give you an idea of what I'm trying to go for. I'm scrolling back a little bit further than I thought it would be, but alas. Right, here we go. So that's not going to be centered right, is it? You know what? No, that's fine. You guys can see that, okay. So, basically, what we're kind of looking at here is... You excuse my very excited face on the right-hand side. There's two of me now. Hello, that's another me in an Arsenal shirt there. Very nice. But this is a screenshot I think someone else put up. But what we can see is game week 30 is a guaranteed blank game week. So we know we're going to have some. Blanks there because of the FA Cup quarterfinals. So every team that is playing in the FA Cup quarterfinals and whoever they face will have their fixtures moved to game week 36. Dan Cross in the chat, do I have both free hits left? Yes, I do. So yes, plenty of opportunities for free hits for me still between now and the end of the season. So we're going to free hit a blank game week 30. And I'm actually, instead of bringing in players who will play in 30, so a lot of people are kind of going for, I think it's Arsenal, Aston Villa, and who else is there who is actually guaranteed a game week 30 game? Wolves maybe? There's quite a few players who are going to be playing in game week 30 because they don't play in the FA Cup. They've been knocked out of the FA Cup. So if I kind of avoid those players in a way and go for players who I know are blanking in game week 30, then I already know that those players will have their fixtures rescheduled for game week 36. So I can bring in game week 36 players very, very early. I can actually bring those players in from game week 28 onwards, because by game week 28, we'll have a very good idea. We'll have a very, very good idea what the situation is going to be. So we can work towards that bench boost in 36 with plenty of time. I won't need very many adjustments either. We've got plenty of time to do it. So that's what I'm going to do. This is going to be the kind of tactic that I will be using. Triple captain in 26. I know I know in this particular image it's kind of got the free hit hovered over 27, but that won't be happening for me. I'll be free hitting in blank game week 30 to load up on all of the blank game week players. We'll use our bench boost in 36. We'll use our triple captain obviously in game week 26 because we've got Salah for that nice double game week there. And we've got a spare free hit where we can basically use in a time of, I don't want to say a time of panic, but a time of, a time where we kind of have to react very quickly to something. If we have to react very quickly to, say we get a nice double game week announcement, and we've only got maybe a game week or two to react to the double game week and try and get those double game week players in, rather than trying to panic, taking -4s all over the place to try and set myself for a nice double game week. I can use that just instantly, get all the players I need in and move on. And I think that is most likely going to occur for me in game week 33, because that is a pretty likely slot for a double game week. That's a nice slot there to add some double game week fixtures potentially there. And we're expecting a couple of blank game weeks as well due to the FA Cup semi-final. Although our fixtures could be rearranged, so it is possible that even the teams in the FA Cup semi-final, they may still be able to play a fixture in game week 33. We're not sure yet. We kind of have to make some predictions and kind of get a rough lay of the land, which is exactly what we're doing with these kind of predictions here. We're trying to roughly gauge what is going to happen between now and the end of the season, when doubles are likely to fall, when blanks are likely to fall, and this is kind of our prediction here. So yeah, game week 33 could be a good opportunity there, but honestly, the second free hit could occur for me at any time. It really could be at any time, because we might get a nice random double game week at any given point. I mean, I'm looking through these other game weeks, and pretty much every single game week, from game week 28 to game week 37, excluding game week 30, any game week could technically be a double game week. Anyone could, and there's plenty of fixtures to be rearranged here as well. And a lot of people, and I was kind of thinking about this earlier, a lot of people are kind of, they're trying to plan for double game weeks and trying to work out exactly where they're going to be. And I think maybe you could, maybe you don't need to think about that quite as strongly as that. Maybe you don't need to work out exactly when the double game weeks are going to be, because ultimately we know which teams are going to have double game weeks because we know which teams have unscheduled fixtures. So a lot of people are kind of, for example, relying on, Ben Krellin's fixture schedule spreadsheets and stuff like that, which, by the way, I thoroughly recommend. Are really, really good. He's on Twitter. He makes some really good stuff, so definitely recommend that. But this year, I think it's a little bit different. And I think maybe not to try and not make predictions so much about exactly who's going to double when, but rather just pick players that you know are going to double. So, for example, we know, let's go back on here. Let's just find a random player from Leicester, for example. We know Leicester have got 3 double game weeks that are going to happen at some point, and it will happen between the game weeks of 28 and 37. We don't know exactly when it's going to be. It could be pretty much at any time, but these 3 fixtures need to be rescheduled in between game week 28 and game week 37. It needs to happen. So during that period of, how many game weeks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in those 10 game weeks, pretty much a third of those game weeks are going to be double game weeks for Leicester. We know that. We don't need to know exactly when that's going to be. We know it's going to happen. And to be fair, if we were to make a prediction, BGW, by the way, stands for blank game week. Sorry. If we kind of make a little bit of a prediction here, we do know that Leicester are still in the Europa League. So therefore, we know perhaps that actually these fixtures might need to be scheduled in sooner rather than later. Otherwise, there could be some fixture clashes. I mean, you can only play, usually there's only one midweek slot for a team to play. And if that team has a lot of their midweek slots, kind of taken by European football, we know that the rescheduled games are not going to happen then. So, these 3 fixtures for Leicester, I know a lot of people are probably laughing a little bit at the idea of going for Leicester players, but hell, I don't know, Maddison still looks pretty good to me. Even when Leicester have been pretty poor, Maddison's looking pretty good. And when they get some of their players back and, get back into the swing of things, and I do think Leicester will have a little bit of, bounce back a little bit. These double game weeks, for someone like James Maddison, that's going to be rather nice, I think. Rather nice. Sorry, not Europa League, I meant Europa Conference League. Sorry, do apologise, but you get my point. So yeah, Leicester, for example, we know they're going to have double game weeks between now and the end of the season. Why wait basically and try and panic them in? We know they're going to happen eventually, so that means basically when the fixtures start looking good again, which is pretty much game week 28, arguably they've got some good fixtures from then onwards. We could just go for some Leicester players. Maybe Leicester have some double game weeks towards the end of the season as well. There's some nice fixtures in there as it stands. So it could be quite nice. Definitely don't go for Leicester defenders, however. Definitely not Leicester defenders, but there we go. Oh, by the way, someone in the chat, Aidan Matthews has noticed I'm not drinking. I'm actually a bit of a traitor today. This is not blackcurrant squash. This is orange squash. I'm so sorry. I fancy the change. I fancy switching it up. I'm a traitor. I'm a traitor to the blackcurrant squash nation. I do apologise. But anyway, Leicester are just an example. Who else have got some fixtures to be played? Have Everton got a few fixtures to be played? They've got 3 as well. 3 pretty nice fixtures, although, that's not looking too good anytime soon. But, potentially we could have a look at some Everton players, although I have to say, guys, I'm not convinced that I want to keep Everton players unless they do show some real turnaround in form under Lampard, because the fixtures don't look good and the players don't look good either. At least with Leicester, they've got a couple of decent players, right? Burnley are down to 2 fixtures now to be rescheduled. So, where we kind of talked about, Burnley are going to be the team that we need to load up on because they're going to have loads of fixtures between now and the end of the season. Actually, the next 2 game weeks, that is the time where Burnley are playing all their fixtures. And actually after that, from game week 28 onwards, it's only those 2 fixtures left that need to be rescheduled. I mean, 2 is better than nothing, I suppose. Arsenal have got a couple of games to be rescheduled as well. 3, in fact. So they're another team that has got more games to be rescheduled than Burnley. So Leicester, Arsenal, Everton and Chelsea have got a couple as well. I can't remember who else have got 3. Chelsea got 2. I do think, by the way, guys, definitely we're going to be looking at getting, I think probably, if in all honesty, Reece James back for 28 onwards. I mean, man alive, look at this. Look at this run of fixtures. That really is incredible. How many clean sheets there? A few, right? A few. So we are going to be looking to get Reece James back in. I'm probably going to go Digne to Reece James in 28. That's kind of what I'm thinking, forward planning a little bit. But things do change very fast in FPL, as we know. But yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Just honestly, in terms of thinking slightly longer term in strategy, just getting players who you know are going to have some double game weeks at some point or another. You know, use your free hit in game week 30 and focus on bringing in players who basically don't play in game week 30. So transfers on players who don't play in 30, free hit in 30, and then bench boost in 36, where all of the players who don't play in 30 will now double. And there might be a couple of other sneaky double game weeks being snuck in there as well. There you go. That's kind of what I'm thinking going forward a little bit. But. Let's talk about this game week a little bit more, because I don't know who's going to be benched from my team. I really don't. I have no clue who I'm going to bench and who I'm not going to bench. It's a mystery. It really is. But I'm going to end up with 9 double game week players, and I imagine a lot of you guys can probably end up with about, you know, a similar amount as well. Can you get to about 8 or 9? If so, that's pretty good. Yeah, someone said game week 28 wildcard. Yeah, game week 28 is definitely a big opportunity for a wildcard. If you haven't used your wildcard yet, definitely use it there. I'm not going to be bench boosting, but I understand why people would want to. But I do feel like a big reason why people are thinking of bench boosting now is because they don't really understand how significant a game week 36 bench boost could be. And there's kind of 2 schools of thought. There is no doubt in my mind that there are more points up for grabs in game week 36 for a bench boost. There's going to be so many more points in 36 for a bench boost than there are available in this game week 26 for a bench boost. So that instantly tells me bench boost better in 36, right? But I can also say that there's this opportunity for a triple captain in game week 26. There is not going to be a better, game week 36 is not going to be a better opportunity for a triple captain. 26 is going to be a far better opportunity for a triple captain because it is so rare. And I'm saying this quite a lot, but I don't think people are quite, the fact that people are still suggesting go for a bench boost, it is so rare to get a double game week this good. Those of you guys who have been playing FPL for a few seasons, I'd love to know who have you been your recent triple captains and how did they go. So I can think back to my last couple of triple captains at least. I'll do a quick super chat here from Christopher Rye. It says, what's the maximum point hit you would take for game week 26? I don't think there's such thing as a maximum point hit. If you can really get rid of some dead weight who you really don't want, and you can bring in some really solid players, particularly if you're bringing in players like Salah and Robertson and maybe Cornet for the double, Ramsdale, players like that, players that you feel really strongly are going to do really well, then yeah, go for it. Take as many hits as you need to, but don't trade out double game week players. That's what I would say. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you're actually removing double game week players and replacing them with other double game week players, then these transfers are probably a little bit luxury and probably not so worthy of a -4 hit. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, triple captains last season was Gundogan. He played against Everton. I think it was Everton. And he did really well. I think he scored 18 points. I think he got a couple of goals and maybe an assist in that game, which I was really pleased about. Then he got injured and couldn't play the second game of the double game week. But just to give an example, last season I was captaining Gundogan against Everton and Spurs. Now think about that. Gundogan against Everton or Spurs was the best I could come up with for a triple captain last season. Compare that to this season, Salah versus Norwich and Leeds, both at home. The season before, I used a triple captain, another disaster triple captain the season before that, so the 2019-20 season. I triple captained Aubameyang. He had a double game week against West Ham and Manchester United. He blanked against West Ham, and the Manchester United game was called off because COVID happened and the whole Premier League was called off just before the second game of the double game week. So yeah, definitely always go for a triple captain in a double game week, but what I'm saying is, when we think of last season, Gundogan versus Everton and Spurs. The season before, Aubameyang versus West Ham and Man United, and these were good, highly regarded, well regarded as good triple captain opportunities. Compare those to this, it doesn't compare. This Salah triple captain opportunity is so much better. It was Spurs the first game, says Olivier. So it was Spurs the first game and then Everton the second game. All right, yeah, sorry, maybe I got those the wrong way around. Bally in the chat says, I'm wildcarding this game week and free hit next. Am I mad? You're a little bit mad. I mean, kind of. It depends. Have you used your triple captain already? If so, maybe you could, you know what I mean? Like, it's difficult. If you guys have used your triple captain, I know a few of you guys have said you've used your triple captain already, then you can consider. Of course, you can consider using a bench boost, but I still have to say, I still believe that the bench boost in 36 has the potential to yield more points. And I understand it's very much a stick or twist situation where, you either say, okay, we're just going to get this bench boost out the way and move on, forget about it, and just play the rest of FPL kind of normally. Or we can say, I think the next opportunity will be better. And the same kind of thing applies to a triple captain. You kind of say, I like the look of this triple captain. Will the next one be better? When we get to a Salah versus Norwich and Leeds, I can tell you right now, guys, the next triple captain opportunity is not going to be better than this one. It's just not. There's no way. I know I say that with quite a deal of confidence, really. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. The next opportunity on a triple captain, but certainly for a bench boost, you have to think this one's good. Okay, fair enough. It's a good opportunity for a bench boost, but is the next one going to be better? For those of you who have used your triple captain already, you guys maybe have to consider that. That's kind of what you got to kind of think about right now. So there we go. Jishnu in the chat says, I'm using triple captain 26 and bench boost 36. Yeah, exactly what I'm thinking as well, my friend. Exactly what I'm thinking. I've just remembered, I think someone put in the chat, I just remembered another one. Maybe I shouldn't manifest this, but a couple of seasons ago, Mane had a double game week. It looked like a pretty good double game week. And then Mane got injured in the first of the two fixtures. So anything can happen, technically. If Salah gets injured or something, then, that's fair enough. But I said in my video earlier, a lot of people are also in the chat saying, I think Salah's going to get rotated. I think Salah's going to get rested. Liverpool got some big games coming up. I mean, fair enough. If that helps you sleep at night, fair enough. And if you want to use that as an excuse to not triple captain Salah, I guess fair enough. I would imagine that a lot of people saying that they think Salah is going to be rested is because they don't have a triple captain chip left, and kind of confirmation bias a little bit. But let me say, Salah, even if he plays one of these games, imagine just Salah against Norwich alone. That's good enough. You would captain Salah in a single game week against Norwich. You would captain Salah in a normal game week against Leeds, and there would be people saying, even in a single game week against one of these oppositions, that is still an amazing triple captain opportunity. Definitely, those are still really good opportunities for triple captain. So that's kind of what I'm saying. And say Salah does get benched against one of them. And by the way, I do think Salah is going to play both of them. Salah is the kind of player who is very fit. You get the best out of him if you just play him every game, because it does him no good when you rest him and rotate him. He hates it. It doesn't help the player. So I do think he's going to play both. But even if he doesn't, he gets rested for one of those games. 90 minutes versus Norwich and 30 minutes versus Leeds. That is far better than any other. That's still far better than any other triple captain opportunity you're going to get for the rest of the season, right? That's still better. Even Salah in 1.3 game weeks is still better than most other players, right? So, I think that has to be taken into consideration as well. Even if you don't think Salah's going to play both games, it's still going to be really, really significant. So there you go. A few people suggesting some differential triple captains. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold, to be fair, it's an option, but I mean, to me, it's just so risky. People suggesting Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Jota for a triple captain. If that's what you really want to do, then fair enough. But you are not going to get me to tell you that's a good idea. I'm not going to go on record and say that's a good idea because it is just so risky and could be so damaging to your rank that to me personally, it's not even worth thinking about. Now, if you find yourself in a situation with your FPL team where you are you're not doing so good. Like, you're having a really rubbish season. Maybe you're kind of just using this as a practice season or something like that, and you're going to take this game a little bit more seriously next season. You just want to have some fun with it, or you just want to do a Hail Mary, all or nothing type of risk. It's not a good risk, don't get me wrong, but those are situations you could maybe consider where I'd be more sympathetic towards using a triple captain on an Alexander-Arnold, a Robertson, a Jota. But Salah is still the best option. And I won't go on record with any other opinion to that. Jacob Nowland, thank you very much for the super sticker there. Nikolai in the chat says, after United's double game week, I have both Ronaldo and Bruno. Would you just do Bruno to Salah without taking a hit, or sub CR7 and a midfielder for Salah on -4? Depends who you think you can get. You know, if you can do a -4 and you think Harry Kane, for example, is going to do well this double game week, then you can maybe do, you know, Bruno to Salah, Ronaldo to Kane could be okay. Or you could just leave Ronaldo on your bench, to be honest, or, you know, even play him. And this is Leeds at the end of the day. It could be okay. I didn't think Ronaldo looked too bad over the double game week, if I'm completely honest. I thought, you know, he did okay. A lot of chances and stuff like that. Varun says, thoughts on Tomiyasu playing this game week? Own Lloris, no Ramsdale, worried about points potential of Ramsdale, and Spurs defence looking shaky. Okay, the Wolves game wasn't great. I wouldn't be too worried about Lloris. I wouldn't be too worried about it. I still, you know, he's still good enough cover. I mean, a lot of people won't even have a double game week goalkeeper, so that's better than nothing. Tomiyasu is not looking so good, however, just because I don't think he's going to be available for the double game week. And even if he is, I don't think he's going to play both. So Tomiyasu is a little bit worrying, if I'm honest. I'm not too sure about that one. Any news on Weghorst? I've got nothing, unfortunately. I've got no news on Weghorst. I have been, you know, refreshing, checking every few hours, to be fair, though, to try and get a good idea, because he's very much on the shopping list, for sure. I do want to go back to a point. Someone said in the chat earlier, you know, are we a little bit concerned about Salah's lack of points recently, since he came back from AFCON? I mean, to be fair, he's only played 120 minutes of Premier League football since he came back from AFCON, so it's a pretty small sample size. But certainly in the Leicester game, in the 30 minutes he played against Leicester, he looked really good, really on it. Was really kind of unlucky not to get some more FPL points. He really could have got some more out of that game for sure, and that's in just 30 minutes. Against Burnley was a little bit more disappointing, but we kind of know that Salah struggles against Burnley, doesn't he? He's not got a great record there, and although I don't really place too much credence to that, it is, I guess, a consideration. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Burnley away is not as easy as a fixture compared to you know, Norwich at home and Leeds at home. These are two wonderful, wonderful fixtures that you really should be kind of excited about. So there we go. Yeah, I'm not worried about Salah. I'm not worried about his minutes. I don't particularly need him to play, you know, 90 minutes in both games. I'm not worried about Salah's points. I think he looked really good in the 30 minutes against Leicester, and I'm not judging him too much on that away game against Burnley. If you want to take some kind of meaning out of those two lack of points, you know, to be fair, if you're looking at the Leicester game, you are just looking at FPL points and not at the actual football. And it's more important to look at the actual football than the FPL points, because FPL points don't tell the whole story. If you're just looking at the Burnley performance in isolation, then I think that's pretty short-sighted. I think it's such a narrow sample size that you can't really. I don't really see how you can derive anything from it. To be honest, you know, like, where do you draw the line? You know, if you know, in Messi's height of his career, if he went one game without scoring, would you suddenly say, "Oh, I'm not sure Messi's the best player in the world anymore"? You know, of course you can't. Of course you wouldn't. That would be quite a bizarre thing to do. So, you know, if you are going to derive meaning from the last two blanks, or to derive too much meaning from the last two blanks, then do it at your own peril. I wouldn't advise that. I still think Salah is remarkable. I don't think he's suddenly a bad player or anything like that. And I think he's going to be I think he's going to go pretty hard in these two games. Even if he doesn't play 180 minutes, even if he plays 110 minutes, 120 minutes, something like that. Good enough. Good enough. By the way, guys, I know a few of you coming into the chat late. Pretty much just ignore who I'm starting and who I'm not starting because it is very much undecided. It is very much undecided. A few people asking about wildcards. Gameweek 28 presents a really good opportunity to use your wildcard if you fancy doing that, because there's some nice fixture swings there. I do wish I was able to save my wild card for 28, but it just was not possible. It wasn't possible for me. My team just needed a revamp, and I'm glad I've done it. Nick Giordano says Tarkowski/me and Jota versus Robbo/Virgil van Dijk and Gallagher. Well, Gallagher doesn't even double because he can't play against his parent club. So that's basically, Robbo and Van Dijk, that's plus Gallagher is 3 fixtures. Tarkowski and me is 4 fixtures. So you get 4 fixtures if you go Tarkowski/me and Jota is 4 fixtures. And then if you count the following game week as well, you get an extra fixture from the following game week as well. So that's out of those choices, I would go for the Burnley defender option and Jota. That's what I would do there. Looks pretty good. But definitely something to consider that Gallagher cannot double because he cannot play against his parent club Chelsea in the double game week. So that's kind of unfortunate there. That's just where the Chelsea game has ended up being for Crystal Palace, kind of sullying their double game week a little bit. But it's still a single game week against Watford, which is not too bad. There are far worse games to have than that one, so don't worry too much about it. Yeah. Moises says, I have Elise and Edouard, but I'm not sure about starting both. Thoughts? They have double game week, so you play them. Even like they both are fully capable of playing both games, and they're both fully capable of playing some minutes in both games. So, worst case scenario, again, another worst case scenario where you're getting a player who plays 120 minutes rather than a player who, kind of maxes out on 90 minutes. So that is still better. Even if you think, I'm worried about some of my double game week players not playing in one of the games, it doesn't really matter because that's still better than a single game week player if they're likely to come off the bench. And players like Elise, Edouard, Jota, Salah, if for some reason he ends up on the bench, like Nori, Robertson, whoever, there's so many players who are the kind of players who will come off the bench even if they are benched. And you get more minutes out of them and you get more opportunities for them to score FPL points, which is perfect, which is much better than a 90-minute player, right? So don't worry too much about it. Don't overthink it, I would say. Damien JT, thank you very much for becoming a member of the channel. Welcome, 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 and enjoy those emojis. Jacob has gone in with a super chat here. Says, triple captain on Tarkowski as Twitter delivered 500 likes. Well, I mean, you have to adhere. If you're going to put out a tweet and say a certain amount of likes and I'll do a certain thing, you've got to go through with it. I had to do one recently. I said... I think I said something like 2,000 likes and I'll paint my face, as a clown. And I had to do it in a video. I had to wear full clown makeup in a YouTube video because I put the like goal up. If you put a like goal up, you have to fulfill the forfeit. So, I mean, I guess Jacob, good luck with the triple captain on Tarkowski. I don't know how well that's going to go. I mean, a clean sheet against Brighton, maybe a bullet header. You never know. Can Burnley keep 2 clean sheets there? Possibly. It's possible. I don't know if I'm 100% sure on it, but it's possible. So there we go. I'm not keeping Bruno, and no, my bench will not stay like this. It's just not gonna happen. Have you not considered Saka and Lacazette, says Mr. Sloth? And I've seen a few people suggesting to me personally that I go for some Arsenal players. Let's answer this super chat quickly first, and then we're going to talk about some Arsenal players. So Nick Giordano says, already have Gallagher, but am attached, so want to keep despite the lack of double. Fair enough. Still Burnley and Watford, higher ceiling than Burnley defenders? I don't think so. I would definitely rather play a Burnley defender than Gallagher on this double game week. I would. I think Gallagher is, in all honesty, probably going to get another 2-pointer against Watford. Maybe a 3-pointer with the clean sheet, to be fair. But no, I'm not expecting big things from Gallagher in the double game week. It's kind of a little bit to me. He's kind of fallen off a little bit in terms of being a great FPL asset. So just he's playing deeper, missed games. I don't know. I'm not feeling Gallagher for this game week. I mean, fair enough. Keep him on your bench or whatever. But he wouldn't be. Unless you really don't have very much going on your bench, you don't really have very many other options. Then I would probably bench Gallagher, to be honest. Tweets on 1,700 likes, says Jacob. Wow, that is a banger. That is a certified banger. Fair play. So anyway, guys, I was going to speak on Arsenal players very quickly. Now, the reason I'm not going for an Arsenal player is because basically I want to be able to go into game week 27 with a clean full 11 players. Okay, right. Nick Giordano's got one more super chat. I'm going to speak about Arsenal players, I promise, but I do like to make sure I answer the super chats because I will forget if I don't. All right, last one. Can't spend all my dodge. Is it worth to get Weghorst / Rodriguez / Broja for DCL for a -4 for the next 2 game weeks before game week 28 wildcard? I mean, I would go, if Weghorst is fit, go for Weghorst. That's all I would say out of those players. Another super chat from Anurag says, have same team apart from KDB and Ramsey for Salah and Elise. Have 1.4 in the bank. Should I only get Salah or take another hit for another player? I mean, if you've got a benching dilemma, then you don't need to take a -4. If you've already got such a wealth of good stuff on your bench, then that's a good indication that you don't need to take minuses and stuff like that to get extra players. It's not necessary. So don't worry about that. But finally, I'm going to talk about Arsenal players. Thank you very much, guys, for the super chats. I do really appreciate it. But if you have Arsenal players, you leave yourself in trouble for game week 27. Just because we're already tripled up on Liverpool. And we have to be tripled up on Liverpool. That is the first priority for game week 26, is to get yourself tripled up on Liverpool. Now, we've got Ramsdale as well. A lot of people will have Ramsdale. Great goalkeeper for the double game week. Really, really good. But, unfortunately, him along with 3 Liverpool players are all going to blank in game week 27. They do not have a fixture. They have no chance of a fixture. It's not happening. So that is the 4 bench slots for game week 27. The 4 bench slots that you have will be occupied by Ramsdale, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson and Salah in my example. Or if you've got, Jota instead of Robertson, then there's that player as well. Now, from there, you kind of have the option. Do I go for an Arsenal player, knowing that I will have to transfer them immediately back out, or a Liverpool player back out for game week 27? Essentially meaning that if you don't want a free hit in game week 27, bringing in an Arsenal player for game week 26 will cost you 2 transfers, not 1. Because you're going to have to take someone back out again. Perhaps a player you don't want to take out. So, for example, for me, I probably already am eyeing up Weghorst as my game week 27 transfer. Watkins to Weghorst. That's already what I want to do. If I brought in an Arsenal player, well, I mean, first of all, I would have to, revisit my plans of how I'm going to kind of figure that out. I mean, what do? Do I take out Digne and put in Tierney and maybe go Tierney to Ben Mee in the following game week? I could do that. That could be okay, but would it be amazing? Not necessarily. I don't know. It does create some complications, and it basically sets yourself in a bit of a path of transfers that you have to make. Now, if you're free hitting in 27, then load up on those Arsenal players, because that's going to be a good thing to do, because you can just get rid of them, scrap them in game week 27 and load up on your best possible team. Amazing, right? But if you're not, for every additional outfield player you have in your squad from Liverpool, Arsenal and technically Chelsea as well, that's an additional problem you're going to have to contend with in game week 27. And a big reason why I don't want a free hit in game week 27 is because it's not a very big game week, really. It's not a very big double game week. The only doubling team is is, Burnley. There's no Liverpool, who are a team we target a lot. We know City are going to be rotating pretty heavily during that period of time as well. So that's not going to be good to go for City players either. Man United have a decent game week, which is okay. Spurs have a decent game week, but, it's okay. But United and Spurs, they're kind of tricky teams anyway that we're kind of a little bit worried about at the moment anyway. So we've got no Arsenal, no Liverpool. City will be rotating. Man United and Spurs are kind of looking a little bit off it, so we might not want to go for those players. How many points can you actually get out of a game week where the big dogs aren't playing the little dogs? Because that's where a lot of a good free hit, is going to happen. And there's going to be more double game weeks. There's going to be more double game weeks, and there's going to be better double game weeks than 27. So the only reason you would use a free hit in game week 27 is if you can overcommit to Arsenal in 26. If you can overcommit to Arsenal players and then bail yourself out with a free hit, then that's a wonderful strategy. But if you're not doing that, unless you've got triple Arsenal, triple Liverpool, you don't have to. I have got 2 free hits left, but game week 30 is already banked in, and I think I just feel like, I really strongly feel like there is going to be another opportunity. I'll go back to this. I just feel like there's going to be another free hit opportunity somewhere before the end of the season. I just feel like I've got my eye on game week 33. I just feel like that is going to be a few teams doubling there. And they all double at once. We've seen it in game week 26. It's a perfect example. A load of teams double at once. Burnley against Leicester. Burnley against Crystal Palace and Leicester. That's the double game week in game week 27. Game week 33, maybe we get something different. Maybe we get another Liverpool double game week. Maybe we get another, Man City double game week or something like that. Actually, will City be able to get a double game week there? No, I don't think they will. But there are still lots of teams with lots of fixtures to be rescheduled. And they're probably going to, just like they did in game week 26, they're probably going to do another block. There's probably going to be another version of game week 26 somewhere where 4 teams have their double game week fixtures rescheduled and 4 teams have double game weeks. And if that happens and you use another free hit there, then you can just load up on all of the teams that have double game weeks. It's going to be hopefully some good teams. If there isn't some good teams, then maybe you don't free hit it. But game week 33 in particular, if that is blanks and doubles at the same time, then what an opportunity for a free hit. So I'm saving one. I'm keeping one in the bag for later on in the season. This is just me personally, by the way. It's not the only way to play. I'm just talking about my own personal kind of tactics and strategy. I want to save a free hit. I want to keep a free hit in the bag to quickly react to a spontaneous, very, very lovely looking double game week, similarly to what we saw for game week 26. We only found out about game week 26 a couple of weeks ago. We only found out about that recently, that we're going to get this wonderful, wonderful double game week. It's going to be a similar situation again. And without a wild card, I wouldn't have been able to capitalise on this double game week 26. I wasn't prepared for it. So I had to use a wild card to get into this one. So for the second one, I'm gonna use a free hit. And that'll be that. And perhaps other people will use their wild cards to target other double game weeks. I don't really have that opportunity, unfortunately. So yeah, that's where my second free hit's going to go. One's going to go in 30, the other one's probably going to go in 33, but honestly, it could happen at any double game week opportunity. Game week 37 is another one. Possible double game week and blank game week in the same game week there. Could be interesting due to the FA Cup final. Plenty of opportunities. But we'll see. We'll see. But it doesn't hurt to be prepared. If I only had one free hit, would I still save it? Well, if I only had one free hit, I would just use it in game week 30, because that kind of goes back to my game week 30 tactic. So I'm not going to talk about my game week 30 free hit and game week 36 bench boost again, just because I know I already spoke about this in the stream. And those of you guys watching this on replay, shout out to you guys watching this on replay, by the way. Obviously, you don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. But guys, if you do want to hear a little bit more about me talking about my strategy, feel free to watch the replay of this stream, and I speak about that in a little bit more detail. But there we go. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's not the only way to do it, but that's what we need to do. So let's see what the members are saying in the chat. So Olivia says, I don't think it's possible for 37 to be a blank. No time to play the game later. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know why I put that in there then. I mean, technically it would, because they would know about the blank in advance and reschedule the fixture beforehand. So that would be how it's possible for a blank there. I don't think it's very likely, I agree. But if they know who's going to play in the FA Cup final, they can reschedule those teams' fixtures a little bit earlier, in the game weeks preceding. I mean, maybe even 36, 35. There's so many opportunities for double game weeks, So yeah, that's kind of how that would work. But yeah, it's pretty unlikely. Dimitar says, sad that we don't have a double game week for Man City. Yeah, I know, but we can still have a double game week 36 for Man City. If Man City progress in the FA Cup, they could have games rescheduled if their FA Cup games are kind of clashing with the Premier League games. They could end up having a double game week between now and the end of the season. I have to be honest though, Man City double game weeks are just not that appealing because the rotation really. Because the rotation of Man City always means that they're a little bit of a tricky team when it comes to double game weeks. Just that rotation. Of course, says, looks like the pandemic may leave football alone, right? Yeah. No, I know. I think there is really lots of reason to be really, really positive actually about COVID affecting the Premier League, because games are not going to get called off anymore. It was getting a little bit ridiculous, really, wasn't it, at a certain time, where one player would have COVID and the whole game is called off, even though that one player is isolating and stuff like that. There's no risk. It's just, maybe teams abusing the rules a little bit, but the rules have now changed so that you do need a few COVID cases in order to call a game off, and COVID is not rampant enough at the moment, particularly as we exit winter. It's not rampant enough to be, it would have to be as severe as it was in like December, and it's unlikely to be that severe, and it's going to have to be very severe in order to have games called off. So I really, really doubt we're going to have any more games called off for COVID. Maybe there's one more game called off for COVID between now and the end of the season, but honestly, I'm kind of doubting it. I've not heard really anything about games getting called off. Kind of seems pretty unlikely, really. So I think we can actually start to plan, which is exactly what I've been doing. We can plan now. It's all good. It's all good. So lots of reasons to be happy. Denin in the super chat says, "Is it good putting Salah, Mane, and Jota together?" I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't like the idea of going without Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't really. I mean, a lot of people, I've had a lot of comments on my YouTube videos recently saying, "What about Mane? What about Mane? Why is no one talking about Mane?" I mean, you could. Mane is a bit of a rotation risk. He's kind of rotating with Jota and Diaz there on the left wing, even more so now than ever. And he's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a player who's going to get rotated. It's risky. Technically, yes, it could pay off. It really could pay off. But it's one of those real outside punts, I think. You've got a perfectly good Salah there. He's, good. He's good for points. You've got a perfectly good Trent there. He's good for points. You've got Jota and Robertson, who are, cheaper and more reliable than Mane. It kind of begs the question, why bother going for Mane? Now, obviously, in a situation where we could just have unlimited players from any team, then perhaps we would go, Salah, Mane, Jota, Trent, and Robertson all in one FPL team. That would be pretty good, right? But unfortunately, not possible. So that's the only reason I think Mane's not really getting a mention, because of the money he costs, and he's not really a better option than some of the other guys, really. If you fancy it as a really outside punt, then, fair enough, absolutely go for it. But I think I think it is an outside punt. It's not something that would be a normal thing to do. Maybe it would be a good way of describing it. An abnormal decision it would be. But abnormal decisions often pay off, so There you go. There you go. Right, guys. I am going to call it a night. It's pretty late. I'm sure it's pretty late for you guys as well, no matter where you are in the world. It's 11:15 in the UK right now. I've been making videos all day and then watching football and then making this stream and speaking loads about FPL, thinking loads about FPL as I often do. That's all the fun of the fair, right? Guys, before you do disappear, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like on the stream / video if you're watching this as a replay, I would massively, massively appreciate that. If you haven't done already, please do consider subscribing. There's going to be loads and more FPL stuff on the channel this week. We are going to have the return of the 100 experts videos tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that. Those of you who are, FPL involved, do feel free to get involved in that video as well over on Twitter. We'll talk about that on Twitter. But yeah, basically just looking forward to loads more content this game week and this epic double game week and triple captain opportunity. It's going to be a really exciting one, right, guys? So yeah, 25 out of the way. Let's go with 26. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on stream / replay. Really appreciate it, guys. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.